Social media is growing and so is digital broadcasting. And then you just wonder, where lies the future of the print media? That is our focus on the Media Review segment today. My guest is Kunle Olasomi. He is a journalist with a leadership newspaper. And today we would be discussing this. I'm Eunice Johnson. Join us as we proceed. You're welcome.
Thank you, Eunice.
Whoa, social media, it's gradually becoming a force to reckon with. It has actually become a force to reckon with. Yeah. It's not just growing, it has grown and is still growing. But with all of this, what does this portend for the print media?
If I say the advent of social media has not proved to be a threat, has not proved to be a threat to the existence of print media, I will not be saying the truth. I think the newspapers need to up their game in terms of the stories they publish and so many other things. And good enough, you have many newspapers now that are online, so they are also competing very favorably with the online media you have all over. You have so many of them now. And one thing I think we should also be careful of is what they feed the public with. I'm talking about the online media now. I think, like I said earlier, I think the newspapers need to up their game and see what they can do to
live up to
expectation and then stop the growing threat of social media.
But do you think it's a good idea to stop it? Because it also has its own goods, if we could put it that way. But that aside, before we go into the challenges of managing, what goes into the print exactly. Now, in all of this, how do you think that the print could still make money if they go online? Because you don't know if this is reducing the amount of people at the newsstand, because it's just a click away.
Yes.
So now, if, for instance, the leadership newspaper has an online platform, how would they make their money?
I said earlier that the content, newspaper contents, I think they need to improve on it and get the best of stories that could that will sell. That is one aspect. Secondly, newspapers majorly or mainly make money from adverts, and as it is now with the online coming on board, the way advertisers give their adverts out has been divided. Now you see some parts going to the online media, some parts going to the newspapers. Unlike before, where you have everything going to the newspaper, now everything is now divided. You have some organizations will even prefer to have it online because of their clients, because they want their clients to see it all over the world. That's the reason why the newspapers too needs to improve on their online platform to be able to compete very favorably with the...
But you mentioned that the newspapers need to up their game in terms of the stories.
Yes, in terms of the stories.
But do you think it's about, the stories matter, but do you think it's just about the stories or how the stories are being presented now? Because sometimes you see a very catchy headline.
It's all of
online.
It.
Okay.
It's all of it. Let me give you an example. As an editor, if a reporter brings a story to the newsroom, the way editor A will treat the story may be different from the way editor B is going to treat it.
Which will determine
the same story.
The readership.
Yes, the same story. And then the way you treat it and the way I treat it will determine the one buyers or readers will go for.
Okay.
So that is also part of a way of making money for the
attracting
yes,
attention.
of attracting readers and all that.
Okay. Now, aside advertisement, which you earlier mentioned, could affect, is being affected to, since it is being shared now to different platforms. What are those other challenges of managing the print media generally?
Well, I will say cost of production is also high. The cost of producing a newspaper is very, very high. And in the country today, even before now, it's not been easy doing business. I will say that I praise publishers and even practitioners for still staying in business up till now, because it's not been easy out there. It's not, the adverts are not coming, which is the major source of revenue for newspapers, for print media. Anywhere in the world, advert is key to the survival of any newspaper. Any newspaper.
Or any organization.
Yeah. So I will say that I think the government also needs to come in to assist, assist the publishers, because
even private
yes, by way of this sales of newsprint.
Which is the paper being used to print the paper.
They can come in to assist and then possibly also create an enabling environment for newspaper business to thrive in the country.
Okay, yeah. But speaking of papers now, what happens to those left over, you know, after the circulation of the newspapers to different places? You possibly can't finish circulating all the papers that were produced.
Yes.
So what happens afterwards? I grew up wondering that.
Yes, they are sold as, we call it unsold, if I may use that word. We call it unsold in the newspaper industry. You get some persons who may need it for one thing or the other. They come around to buy it at a reduced rate.
What about libraries or other what else?
No, newspapers, some newspapers, if not all. I know before now some newspapers give their papers free to some libraries you have around, but I don't know about now whether they still do that.
Okay.
I don't know whether they still do that now.
Okay.
They give it free to National Library and some libraries you have, you know. Okay. So that even at that, you still have leftover.
Definitely. With the dwindling fortune, do you see it affecting staff, that's journalists working in the print media? Do you see them being laid off or reduced, downsized? Do you see it affecting them?
That is automatic. It will automatically happen. We've seen some newspapers not even laying off staff. Some outrightly closed down because they no longer be in business, because the harsh economic environment we have has done on them. And like you said, like you asked, if the newspaper business is not thriving, automatically it will affect the staff that are working there. Before now, we've had some organizations that have laid off their staff due to the fact that they don't want to owe them and they want to keep the business going. So sometimes you see some persons doing 2-3 jobs that,
in order to just...
Yes, like for example, one person doing 2-3 jobs that should have been shared among maybe 2 people. So in order to remain in business, all that is done in order to remain in business.
And to save costs.
Yes, and to save costs. Yeah.
Okay, so if by any means, let's just say that the digital media takes over print, just for instance, do you think that the digital media has all it takes to take the place of the print media? Because, you know, the camera, the analog, the one that you print, and then after taking the picture, you have to go to print out the negative, blah, 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 and all that. And then when I bought it, I was so like into the camera. I was so happy about it. And with time, digital cameras came up, and then it seemed to be as if that camera was just there. I barely used it. But somebody told me that for photojournalists, and even as the world is, no matter how digital cameras come up, it cannot take the place of that other camera, because that one still has its place. So on that note, is that the same for the print, or do you think that the digital media can take the place of the print?
It can, but not in the near future.
Okay.
And that is one. Two, if it does, if it finally does, many people in Nigeria today will be deprived of information. For example, I am not sure my old man in the village.
Very quickly, yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure my old man in the village will have access to Android phone, Blackberries, to be able to access all this information. So it will deprive so many people of information. Okay. It may, but it will take a very long time. It will
affect a lot of things.
Yes, and it will affect a lot of things. Okay. That is one. The second aspect, one event I covered some times ago, I was there live. I covered that event live. It was a protest. Some people came to protest over what they described as being cheated. Now, the owner of the place where they came to protest was not there. The person is a prominent figure. Well, I won't mention the name. It's a very prominent figure.
Time.
The next thing, you see online was so person lynched, so person escaped attack. But this woman was not there.
Okay, so that means in essence, the online media is not properly regulated.
That is it. That is it.
Let's leave it at that and round up on that note.
Right.
My guest has been Mr. Kunle Olasomi. Thank you very much for coming.
Welcome.
He's a journalist with Leadership newspaper, and we've been talking about the future of the print media, despite the fact that the online and the digital reporting is gradually taking over. What happens to the print media in the future? That's about it. Thank you very much for being part of the Media Review segment. Hope you enjoyed it.
Yes, it's always time to go.
Yeah. Today again, we have come to the end of another episode of Insight. We do hope it was insightful on the Media Review segment. Of course, the future of print media. As you stick around on those newsstands and you go to pick up the print media, remember that social media is lurking around. We do not know what lies ahead for the print media. Till we come your way next time, same station next week. Join us again. Bye for now.
On behalf of all of us, bye-bye.